graduating bosses, everyone, my partner Anjali as well, and my former boss Lolita as well. To begin, I just want to say that I had 2 speeches for this event that I wrote, and they told me to do fight until victory is won, but I heard Tolliver, so he gave me permission in his speech where he said to cause trouble. I was saying it a nice way. So I'm going to listen and go ahead and give y'all the speech that I had intended to give, which is called, If It Is to Be, It's Up to Me. You see, before December 2012, I could have cared less about graduating from Hunter School of Social Work, and even less about walking across the stage. Dr. Herman is looking like, what are you talking about? You know, I met a very nice people and had very entertaining professors and indulged in stimulating conversations, and I learned a lot. But with my immediate family more than 100 miles away, and this being my second master's, I made up my mind, I'm not walking, I'm not sitting listening to speeches, not even my own, and I'm just going to get this degree, put my MSW on my resume, and call it a day. And like any good story, something happened. A petition was passed to me in my professional seminar class. And this petition was asking me if I'd heard that there might not be a small graduation ceremony. It said if you want to protest this decision, then you should sign it. So I did, in a very lukewarm manner. Because in my mind, it was my Freudian duty to stand in solidarity with the people who wanted to have a ceremony. Anything less would be contradictory to the values and ethics that I espouse in practice lab. See, I remember thinking, what does a small graduation mean anyway? Why do we even need one of those? We have a big one. Families can wave and take pictures. You can put on your cap and gown. You can smile. You can go get something to eat afterwards. It's the same thing. Then through the grapevine, I started getting hints that this lack of a ceremony was really affecting people. I heard words like hurt, anger, distress, panic, disbelief, even betrayal. I heard stories that a small group of students had formed a committee, and that committee was helping to fight for my right, for each of our rights, to have a recognition ceremony at this school. They organized and strategized about how to win the right to host an event that celebrated me as a person in the environment of Hunter College School of Social Work. I only got a little bit of time, so microphone goes down in the ground now. I don't know what's going to happen here. So, when the gravity of this fight settled into my spirit, it brought me back down to earth. I thought back to that petition and how lackadaisical I was about the issue. Why? Because my reflection that I did, don't get me in trouble, I think there's church and state issues with that. So, I had to place a mirror to the face of my privilege. See, I didn't have to decide if my kids were going to eat or if I was going to pay tuition because I had a full scholarship, thankfully, to the Office of Mental Health. And I wasn't worried about graduation because my family saw me graduate from Harvard Divinity School with a Master's of Divinity in 2004. Heck, this is my 3rd conferred degree in 12 years. So the stories of this committee to save graduation, as I'll call them, helped expand my horizons toward understanding that if it was important for one person to celebrate the achievement of graduation, then it must be important for me to help make it happen. So I called Taisha Ortiz, a classmate and co-worker and fellow graduate, and I said, fill me in on what's going on, and she told me everything. And I said, well, look, if they don't give you what you want, I'm prepared to go fight for it. Luckily for the school, I didn't have to pull out my media contacts like Angeline, who works at ABC News, with Diane Sawyer. I didn't have to go to 145th and get Reverend Al Sharpton. Because of a work of a few, I'm standing here before you speaking these words. Because of a few, we're celebrating with each other in front of family, loved ones, and friends. You see, I came to tell you that we might be a few in number, but we're strong in our strength. We might be a few in number, but we're courageous in our courage. We might be a few, but we're resolute in the principles that we uphold. Ladies and gentlemen, we are social workers. I'm closing, Dean. I'm closing. So in the ultra brief time that I have left, I just want to share with you some bad news and some good news. And I know you want the bad news first, so I started with that. See, the bad news is that we're in a time of critical condition, of peril, of turmoil, of hurt, of sorrow, of madness, of cruelty, of neglect, of shame, of ridicule, of pain, hurt of the National Rifle Association. You see, ladies and gentlemen of the graduating class, the heart of the world is broken, and the earth is weeping, crying like a whale with tears, unseen, unheard, but by a select few and a chosen few. It would be easy to tell you that in New York alone, 38,000 people sleep in the shelters nightly. 100,000 people experience homelessness. In Chicago, violence is up 16% over last year. That's homicides. We can mention names like Sandy and Sandusky and Sandy Hook. And the greatest proof of this turmoil is the election and re-election of a black president over the first black president's wife, and over money. And if these are not signs that America is in a state of upheaval, chaos, and uncertainty, then I don't know what is. The good news is that the Bad News Bears movies were really good news stories. They were about triumph, adversity. They were about not giving up. Their story was about good conquering evil and right always saving the day. And it's my duty today to let you know that it's time for you to join with the people in the shelters and the people in the streets and the people in the bathhouses and the people on the corners and the people in the schools and the people in the playgrounds and the clubs and the liquor stores and the crack spots and the methadone clinics. And it's time for you to step up your game to bring people closer to their vocation of being more fully human. This is our mandate, our profession, our creed, our mission, our reason for existing. To be the people that this committee of students gave us a chance to be. See, this committee was a wake-up call for me, a tapping on the shoulder of privilege. It said to me, hey, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget your social location. Don't forget that you sat here because of a few people who can brag that they changed fate, because fate is not stationary. A few people who can say that they are participating in the future that they work to change. The good news is that for the rest of your life, you will be able to come back to this auditorium, the same cold chair, and remember when the rubber hits that those few people, you remember what those few people did for you, for your families, for the future classes, for tomorrow's world, by fighting for today. The good news is that the knowledge that you have of this day will forever hold you when you're scared. The memory of this day will tuck you into restfulness when you're weary. The good news will comfort you when work makes you want to quit and keep you in the fight for one more day. My job today was simply to tell you, when that day comes, keep fighting until you can't fight anymore. The world needs your solidarity. And when you leave this place, remember what Washington, D.C.'s own Calvin Roloff said, if it is to be, it's up to me. behalf of the class, to Dean Mondros, Dean Savage, Dean Rudick, Ms. Janet Tyson, Julie Pars-Caden here, not Julie, also Dean Herman. And we just want to, on behalf of the class, I just want to say thank you for allowing us to have this day and this celebration.
So I want to say two things. One is that Mr. Jennings will be recognized at the 68th Street graduation as an extraordinary example of the Hunter graduate for the School of Social Work. And you can say why. And you reminded me of the power of organizing and how